This is a video about a doctor who's diagnosed with fibromyalgia, who came to see me and was puzzled why, even with all his medical knowledge and the system's medical knowledge, he was left with these symptoms that he thought he had to live with. So nobody's immune from chronic pain. It can happen to anybody. When it happens to medical practitioners who treat other people, it can often be, I'm not going to say more frustrating for them, but they already have a degree of knowledge about medical conditions. And this was a consultant who knows more about his particular specialism than most other people on the planet, because he's a consultant. However, it's not a narrow field, but a very specific field. And his specialism wasn't in fibromyalgia, but he developed this widespread joint pain, musculoskeletal pain that he had for a long time. He actually came for a separate issue, and a lot of people do that. They say, oh, I've got this more acute issue, and that was 4, 5, 6 months in duration, so it isn't really acute, but he felt it was a newish problem, but didn't expect to have anything possibly available to help these widespread symptoms. And so we just explored his symptoms, and he said it hurts when I press here and here and here and here and here and here. And he's been fully examined, and his colleagues have said, do you want scans and bloods? And they've had all of those things done, and they said, oh, well, it's fibromyalgia. So you've got a range of doctors, and like you mix with your colleagues, he mixes with his. And they, all say, oh, you have to live with it. So why does this hurt? Well, so the pain he's experiencing is real, isn't it? This hurts, this hurts, this hurts, and you get that symmetrical pattern with fibromyalgia, and that's sometimes one of the diagnostic tests, if you like, of the syndrome. And you get loads of different other symptoms, and everyone is different really, but it's this collection of things that gets called fibromyalgia. So he's experiencing pain on pressure. Now, the pain is real, so how can pain come? And we discussed this, we can be safe to say that the pain isn't due to a new injury. Right? So we can know there's no damage that's acute on pressing this that's triggering the pain. Well, absolutely, so happy with that. And we can know that this stimulus pressing on a human being is not damaging or dangerous, potentially dangerous. You can agree with that. So we haven't got pain from damage, we haven't got pain from obvious overload in the moment, we haven't got an acute injury which within 3 months it would negate that tissue structure as a problem. So now we've got pain without damage. So the body is in a protective state, potentially, but more protective than it needs to be for the stimulus it's receiving. And what would make the body like that? Injury, obvious overload at the time, but if that hasn't happened, then the body is in an overloaded state. Okay? And if it isn't physically overloaded, it's emotionally overloaded, or the fear system. Now, if anything has happened that's obvious to trigger that, it would be obvious to the person that they were distressed at the time. They may not have made the link between the physical and emotional elements, but why wouldn't they? Well, often people who are very driven, very focused, are pretty much good at shutting down how they feel. So they can go and do 14 hours in hospital, they can go and do years and years of studying, exam after exam after exam, often with an internal pressure to deliver on that, maybe for cultural reasons, maybe for family reasons, maybe for survival reasons, it's the best way out of the route they've got, or maybe just to create and continue a sense of identity that's worthwhile in society. Doesn't matter how expensive it is in energy terms. So that means those people have to be stressed. The nervous system has to be really up-regulated to deliver on all those things, but the person won't necessarily feel that that's stress. Okay, they won't categorise that stress because it feels normal and has felt normal for so long. However, it means the buffer between their overload, at which the body will create disease, funny saying disease, it's physical or psychological, which will come from a nervous system bathed in adrenaline and cortisol far too much than is beyond pleasure. Well, pleasure creates pain. That means that if they haven't registered this level of overload as overload, and then something happens extra in their life, or the same kind of behaviours hit this tipping point, and the capital T trauma is, divorce and bullying, or overload might be moving house or moving country, or the death of a loved one, or illness of a loved one, a parent or a child, or the dog. It doesn't really matter. It's entirely subjective what makes us feel threatened emotionally. Whatever it is, that buffer means that the point of overload is missed, because they missed a lot that came before it. So now you've got a nervous system that's triggering pain that comes as such a shock to an individual. Says, well, I haven't done anything physical. They're looking in the environment and they're saying it's the mattress, I've slept with the window open, I don't understand, it must be my arthritis, it must be in the family, it must be my weight, it must be posture. They're looking for meaning in the pain. I'm pushing here and it hurts. It must be a problem there. This must be the problem. The pressure on the pain here and here must be the problems here. They're looking in the wrong place. Can you see how easy it is to distract someone from the truth of their own situation? Well, the reason they miss it is they're in fix-it mode. But when you look at the life, they live in fix-it mode. So why wouldn't they use the skills that they've already really highly tuned and highly trained and get money for, and social approval and accreditation and certificates, to fix the problem in themselves that they're fixing lots of other people? And when they can't, it trips the frustration. I can't. I know all this, but I don't know this. How can I know all that and not this? I go to other doctors who know all that and they don't know this. It's the loop complete. Then they've not found anything with the bloods and the MRI scan and the test C and test the other. Okay, well, you're going to call it this. So it identified with a disease. And that's not enough for him, because he says, I'm not buying into that. I think it's psychosomatic or something else going on. And we sat and discussed it. It's two professionals really, and he was quite good at detaching from the emotion. And we did a test. They said, squeeze your arm. Squeeze it. He said, it hurts. I said, squeeze it then. Not going to damage anything. And we did something separate to another part of the body. We used a breathing technique, or we might have treated the area that's more acute, where he's anticipating recovery. He's expecting a bit of physio to help it. Essentially, just in really gentle movements and some breathing patterns. And he said, yeah, my back's feeling easier. That's easy. You could have just do anything and it'll make people feel easier. But he said, yeah, it feels better. Good. I said, squeeze your arm. He squeezed his arm. He said, it doesn't hurt. There's a light bulb moment for him. He started squeezing the other arm. He said, oh yeah, this one hurts. I said, what happened to that one? So that was the point of focus. So we did the same thing on his back. Whatever it was, just a calming mechanism, calmer thoughts, calmer breathing pattern, calmer movement, not calmer emotionally. So the rest and digest trigger, just anything that's rest and digest, whatever you want to think of in a physio clinic that makes someone feel relaxed. He squeezed his arm, he said, it's not hurting. He squeezed this way, he said, it's not hurting. Now, that's the mechanism. I can't follow him round, and I can't stop him from living his 167.5 hours that he's not with me for half an hour and delivering to all these people. He's still going to have to do that, but he starts to now see the mechanism that is different to his default, which is always to fight pain and not even show it and suppress how he feels emotionally. And yes, you've got to do that in a professional environment, but outside of that, if he's looking after his mum and he's looking after the dog and he's sorting his kids out and his wife and his colleagues, and then he goes and looks after his friends, and then he's doing some research. It's too much Doesn't mean you can never get back to that, but you've got to get the balance back. You've got to get the balance back if you want to change that experience that's unpleasant. You have to change the shoulder or the arm. You have to change the pressure. You have to change the system that's interpreting it, and you have to use the mind to do it. And you have to almost use an awareness behind the mind. So you're training the mind or the brain through the awareness that I'm not going to follow those unconscious thought patterns. I'm not going to react to the body's defaults. I'm just going to anticipate something different. I'm just going to respond differently, and you start to see a change. And the work is still to be done, but change is possible in everyone. And there's some barriers up in terms of thoughts and beliefs and physical pain and changes physically, but you've got to look at each one individually and work through them. And doing that work means that recovery is possible.